You know what I love? I love when something can come full circle. When a creator can put up a silly little music video on YouTube to a song that they love. And then years later, when a animated series that they're working on gets pretty big, they can bring a full circle by bringing that same singer that they look up to, that they really love, onto the show that they have made, that the creator has made big. It feels like this is a culmination of everything that Vivzy Pop has been working on, even before Helluva Boss, even before Has Been Hotel. It feels like this is a love letter, in a way, to all of Vivzy's work. And that's awesome. But obviously, let's get into what I'm talking about here. So, if you haven't somehow seen the title or thumbnail, we are talking about Season 1, Episode 8 of Helluva Boss today. Because even though we're in Season 2 and there's a new episode coming pretty quickly, like pretty soon, from what we've been told, instead, we are now getting the final episode of the first season, which had to be pushed back for a while. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. But I'm just warning you now, this review will obviously contain major spoilers to the episode. If you haven't seen it yet, I would suggest checking it out first. So, that being said, we'll begin with those spoilers, I guess, in 3, 2, 1, now. So, this is the technical real finale of Season 1. It follows up Ozzy's. It does touch on some things from the end of the episode with Blitz and whatnot. But all in all, it is still also its own thing. And it was meant to be such. Ozzy's was considered the real, like the official story-wise finale to Season 1. While this is more of a celebration of just the fact that this entire thing got off the ground and became as popular and big as it is. This episode is meant as a fun little celebration, you could say. And I think it works as that. Because, yeah, it's not super story heavy, it's more character focused, and that's fine. Not everything has to be super story heavy. But let's talk about this. So, this does cover from where we obviously left off in episode 7 at the end of Ozzy's. Except, as we had all guessed, as we all basically knew, it was going to follow Loona having been invited out by Tex. Like, the letter that Loona left to Blitz was seen in episode 7, and we assumed that this episode would follow that. And we were correct. But there were things we didn't know. There was a lot we really didn't see coming for this episode. And there were a lot of questions on why this was held back for so long. Why it had to be put on the back burner and Season 2 had to just get started. Vivid said in the past, it's like, when we're able to get it up, we will get it up. And there was all kinds of rumors swirling around. All kinds of rumors, and no one really knew for sure what the truth was. And I don't think we still know, like, absolutely what the truth is. I don't think it's been confirmed, though I haven't really been checking up on it yet, because I was gone all day yesterday when this actually debuted. And I wasn't really able to check the internet too much, so I didn't see anything about it. And it's very early today on Sunday, so I don't know if it's been said. But basically, what I can guess based on the episode and after seeing it is, it all comes down to the big guest star. Because this episode, like I said, brings it full circle. One of Vivzy Pop's first videos, maybe even her first, I'm not actually 100% on that, but one of her first, was a music video. It's a very classic music video. Pretty much everyone loves it. It's very popular, and it kind of kickstarted her career on YouTube. It's a music video to the Kesha song "Die Young," which is a pretty fun song. The music video predates Has Been Hotel in Helluva Boss, and it features a wolf girl character, or you could possibly say hellhound, who is dancing and singing along with the song. It's pretty simple, but it's super well animated, and it has a lot of charm and character to it, which is what got people so invested. And so now, all these years later, we come full circle because we are introduced to the Queen of Gluttony, another one of the mortal sins of hell. We met Asmodeus, Ozzy, in episode 7, and here we meet Gluttony. And Gluttony is Beelzebub, or Queen Bee. And I kind of wonder if there's a little bit of a dig at Beyonce with that, because that's what people call Beyonce, Queen Bee. So I wonder if there's a little dig at her by having a character played by Kesha, called Queen Bee. And yes, Queen Bee, Beelzebub, is voiced by Kesha, the very same artist who Vivzy Pop really loves, and the very same artist who Vivzy's Die Young music video was obviously too. And that's where I think the stalling on this episode came from. Because for those who don't know, for the past years, Kesha has been embroiled in a legal battle due to the inappropriate actions of the producer, Dr. Luke. She has been stuck in a legal battle with him, and just recently, like I want to say like a week ago, just recently it was settled. It was possibly even less than a week ago, actually. It was finally settled, and the fact that it was just settled and this episode is now able to come out, that has to be the reason. Like that just, it seems way too coincidental otherwise. I feel like this legal battle was the reason why they couldn't put this out. For whatever specifics behind it, because Kesha and Dr. Luke were embroiled in this, it was not able to be released when it was originally, supposed to be. But right after, everything is finished and settled, pretty much, we're able to release it. And I'm also kind of thinking that might be why Kesha doesn't sing the song in this episode. Because there is a song that Queen Bee sings called Cotton Candy, and Kesha helped write it alongside Drew Pearson, but it's performed by Rochelle Diamante. And don't get me wrong, Rochelle does an amazing job and even sounds a lot like Kesha. But it's not actually Kesha performing the song, and I'm thinking it might be because of that. And that very much sucks. Like, obviously, if that is the case, if the legal battle did stop Kesha from being able to perform this song, and she could only do, like, the regular voicing, that obviously sucks. It would have been even better, and it would have been just even more of a full circle if Kesha herself was able to sing this. But there could also be other reasons. I might be wrong. That might not be the reason Kesha didn't sing. I don't know. And again, I don't know if Vivzy or anyone else has said anything regarding this. But this is not to by any means take away from Rochelle's performance. Rochelle Diamante did a phenomenal job. Her voice is absolutely fantastic. Really sold this song beautifully. And Kesha's voice acting as the character also is really good. Like, she does a great job as Queen Bee, and really adds a lot of depth to her character. Makes her feel extremely likable, if I'm being honest. Like, going into this, like, I didn't know anything about this. Like, I typically don't. I mean, sometimes I'll know, like, one or two things just because I end up getting spoiled before I see the episode. Um, but because I hadn't been able to get on the internet much before this, and between coming home last night and then doing this, I didn't really watch much in that regard. Or I didn't, like, look up much. I just watching things is all I did, pretty much. But because of all that, I feel like I was able to make this all work to where I wasn't spoiled. And, or maybe I just got fucking lucky. I don't know. But the point is, so I didn't know what this was going to be about. I did not know about Queen Bee at all. So coming into this, meeting her and finding out that she is Tex's girlfriend, one brings up a lot of interesting implications. Because that's now the second mortal sin who has a lower class partner. Because Ozzy has Fizz. Fizz is an imp. Imps are like the lowest class. And Stolas isn't a mortal sin, but he's still a lord of hell. And, you know, Blitz. So it's like we're getting a lot of higher ups with lower class partners. Because Beelzebub's partner is Vortex. And Vortex is a hellhound. They're, I think, higher up than imps, but still pretty low on the totem pole of hell. Which all that entire classism is bullshit, of course, but, you know, that's just how it is. But the fact that they're together, and they actually seem to just have a really healthy relationship, at least from what we see in this episode. Honestly, compared to Blitz and Stolas. Though Fizz and Ozzy, they don't seem too toxic. They seem to, like, be really good for each other. Maybe it's just a mortal sin thing. But she's super nice. Like, unlike Ozzy, who's just honestly a fucking asshole, a really hot, funny, entertaining asshole, but an asshole nonetheless. Beelzebub's actually just really nice. Just, like, super kind and friendly, and she's a party girl. And she clearly loves food. Her song Con Candy features a lot of talking about food. Makes sense for the sin of gluttony and everything. Also, speaking on that, I like that Beelzebub is not overweight. The sin of gluttony is almost always in any kind of iteration where the seven deadly sins are shown. Gluttony is always shown as being overweight. Think like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, for an example. Gluttony in that is a large, bald, fat, masculine character. Right? It's like, that's kind of a typical thing. And a lot of times gluttonies are also shown as being gross and just very off-putting. So I like that gluttony in this, that Queen Bee, Beelzebub, is shown to be fairly average in body size, I guess you could say. And while she clearly loves and enjoys food, it's like she's not gross or anything. Like, she's not just scarfing shit down constantly. She's beautiful, she's charming, she's having fun, and she's sharing that with others. You know who she reminds me of more so? Dionysus, the god of wine and revelry from Greek mythology. Dionysus is one of my favorite Greek gods. And if you've ever played the video game Hades, he is fucking hot in that. But also, he's buff. He's not fat at all. There's also been a lot of cases of Dionysus being drawn as like a fat, balding, old man. But in Hades, he's shown as being just excessively hot, super buff, and just a chill, cool dude. And it kind of reminds me of that. Beelzebub in this kind of reminds me of him. Like, Dionysus isn't exactly gluttony. Like, he's excess for sure. He is hedonism. And there is unquestionably a connection between hedonism and gluttony. They're not exactly the same, of course, but they are connected. Um, Hedonism is basically just enjoying the vices of life: booze, women, drugs, I guess. But food is part of that. Food is included in that. Dionysus loves to throw feasts. That is a big thing. So, yeah, I can see the connection here because we see Queen Bee, Beelzebub, loves throwing parties. This seems to be her big thing. She performs at the party. She makes sure everybody is having a good time, that they are having great food, great booze. And we actually get a fun little nod towards another season 1 episode, Spring Breakers. You remember what Verosica was drinking in that episode? I believe it was called Beelzejuice. That makes a return in this episode. It's the same stuff. We see Blitz and her have a drink, and Beelzebub have a drinking contest with it. And Blitz surprisingly actually wins, but honestly, with the day he's had, I'm not actually that surprised. But yeah, it makes a return. It's kind of a callback to that too, and that's really interesting. I would not have expected that. Um, but we also see a lot of good character moments with Loona and Blitz in this episode. We see Loona caring for Blitz a lot more than probably any other episode. The only thing close would be episode 2 of season 2, where she is talking to Octavia and everything, and she's talking to her about fathers, and it's very clear that she values and cares about Blitz, even if she doesn't show it all the time. That's the closest we got, but honestly, I think it's more so here. She shows more care for him in this episode, and we even hear her call him dad multiple times without taking it back or correcting herself or anything. It's actually in there multiple times. She's even cheering for him at one point while he's doing drinking contests and stuff, and it seems very genuine, actually. She's actually connecting with him. And that's awesome to see. And considering this is the end of season 1, that means the moment in season 2, episode 2 with Octavia follows this. And timeline-wise, we know that because this takes place like right after the events of Ozzy's. So that means the moment in season 2, episode 2 is kind of a callback to this in a way. Even though that episode came out first because of this having to be held back. It's kind of showing that through this experience, Loona and Blitz did start to bond a little bit. Even if Blitz was, well, blitzed for the entire experience. Loona started to connect with him and started to care for him a little bit more. And we get to see that come into play in a later episode, and that's awesome. I love this kind of character work. And this is the kind of thing that makes me unable to understand a certain point of view I've been seeing some people saying. And mind you, it's all subjective, and it depends on what you came into this show for, I guess. But it kind of reminds me also of the arguments over Ruby. It's like, if you know Ruby, Um, Basically, a lot of the fans started getting upset around seasons 4 and 5 because the show started to go into a different direction. It started to focus more on story and character rather than action and cool animated fight scenes and stuff, which is also action, but you get the point. That's what there's a lot of people who were into the show in seasons 1 through 3 because of that stuff. The characters, the story were secondary to them. They just liked the very unique art style, the cool action scenes, the fights, that kind of stuff. So when it started becoming more story heavy, they lost interest. And when there stopped being as many awesome, badass fights and action sequences, and the choreography wasn't the same anymore, they started losing interest. But they also started complaining a lot. Instead of just like saying like, oh, it's gone in a direction I'm not really here for, they start bitching and yelling and throwing fits all over the internet. And I've unfortunately seen this a lot with Helluva Boss. Because this series, with the pilot and everything in the first so and so episodes of the show, was a adult raunchy comedy about a group of lower class imps having a killing business, going out and killing humans on contract. That's how people saw it. So when it when it started to become more about the depth of the characters, the story, and became less and less about that initial concept, there's a lot of people who have been speaking out against it and saying that it lost its way and became something it was never meant to be. The problem with both of these arguments, and again, you're allowed to view it any way you want, just don't be an asshole about it. You don't have to constantly bitch about it or anything. You are allowed to have your opinion, and you're even allowed to share it. Just don't be mean, don't be rude. Don't hate on people who still love it or love it more because of what it's become. But as I was saying, this reminds me of RWBY as well, because a lot of people in the RWBY fandom who are on that side refuse to acknowledge that this was always Monty's vision. When Monty passed away from an unfortunate complication and everything, and it was extremely tragic and horrible how things went down with that. A lot of people are trying to say that the seasons after didn't follow Monty's vision simply because it changed. And yet the people who are show running all the seasons since are the same people who created it with Monty. And in some cases were more involved with the story and everything of the series, while Monty was more the animation, designs, and concepts. There have been multiple videos that have basically disproven the entire Volume 4 and on aren't Monty's vision argument, because there's nothing to that argument in the first place. There's so many videos that have disproven that. And it reminds me of that because this has more than likely always been Vivzy Pop's vision for this series. It was never going to remain a raunchy comedy about contract killing imps. That was never the intent of the show. And that was honestly blatantly obvious from episode 1. The pilots aren't a good example of what a show's going to be. Like, a pilot is just meant to give you like the bare bones concept of a series. and almost never actually represents the rest of the actual show. And it's definitely the case with this series because Helluva Boss's pilot is very different and honestly terrible, in my opinion, of course. Um, it's not even good, but that's all subjective, and all of this is subjective, mind you. But the point is, if this was Vivzy Pop's vision from the start, which is more than likely, then there's nothing to complain about because this is how the show was always going to be. Saying that, oh, this show was supposed to be about this, it's like, no, it wasn't. The show was supposed to be about what it is. You just don't like that it changed. You don't like that it actually developed into what it was always meant to be. Even though the clues are all there. Oh, it's very apparent. Like, you watch this and you can tell what it's meant to be. You can tell right from the start, right from episode 1, Murder Family, that this is going to be more character driven, that it's going to be more story focused. Like, the first episode leaves those breadcrumbs just waiting for you. If you choose to ignore them or just didn't notice them, then that's not on Vivzy Pop or the rest of the crew. The show didn't just take this random sudden shift. This was very clear. And episode 2 made that even more clear. Episode 2, Lululand, was like, while episode 1 was basically leaving you breadcrumbs, Lululand smacked you in the face with it. It threw an entire loaf of bread at you. Because the entire thing was about that. Was about the story and the characters rather than a contract killing thing. And that continued to be shown. The show was not going to be what these complainers thought it was going to be. Again, if they don't like the direction that it's turned into, or developed into is a better way to put it, that's fine. You don't have to. Just don't ruin other people's fun by constantly bitching about it, being rude about it, or even like saying, like, oh, this show changed. It's not what the creators originally intended. It's not what the show originally was. It's like, don't do that. Just don't do that. That is excessively rude to the team who worked on this. It is just exceedingly not okay. Again, especially since this was more than likely the plan right from the start. Like, probably since before the pilot was even written. So, if you don't like where it went, that's fine. Just don't be rude about it. But yeah, sorry. I'm sorry I had to get that out. It's just like I've seen a lot of those posts and tweets and whatnot from people saying that lately. A lot of different people. But most people still seem to be completely on board with where it's gone. It's still an excessively popular series, and that's honestly, in my opinion at least, for the best. Because the series is doing extremely well. Vivzy and her team are like just really getting heaps and heaps of constant praise and love, and it's allowing them to want to improve to, please their fan base, but also because they love working on this. It's been made very clear many times that Vivzy adores this series just as much as she adores the upcoming Has-Been Hotel. She adores this and loves working on it. It's a passion project. And it shows. It very much shows. And I just love seeing this kind of stuff. So I'm hoping that we get more of this in the future. And again, personally, I love the direction that it's gone. I love that it's developed into more character and story focused stuff because that's, in my opinion, the best content. Content that just remains silly and comedic and doesn't really focus on the characters and story, it doesn't keep my attention. It doesn't invest me. The character and story work is, in my opinion, the most important thing of any show or movie, or in the most part, games, for games that have stories and notable characters. Not like a little puzzle game or anything. um, but that's the most important aspect to me in this kind of stuff. Because that's the stuff that invests me. The comedy, the music, all of that stuff, that's just a bonus. It's like I like that stuff, but it's not what draws me into a show. If this series was clearly just going to be that, I wouldn't have continued watching this. But like I said, right from episode 1 with Murder Family, it was clear that this show was going to develop into something more. It was pretty damn clear. And again, episode 2 solidified that so drastically more. Like, I personally can't see how anyone thought it was going to remain like the pilot or anything. That was never going to be the case. But again, it's all subjective. It's all based on personal viewing experience and perspective. Just don't be an asshole about it. So again, sorry for that long rant. Just had to go on about that. But yeah, another thing to note, I didn't mention this earlier, but with this episode with Queen Bee, did you notice the art and animation was slightly different? Like, not like excessively so to where it was way too noticeable and ruined the episode or anything, just by being extremely distracting. No, but it was different for sure. The way the characters moved and the way the art style was done was slightly different than the rest of the series, basically. And I wonder, I assume obviously that was intentional, but I wonder exactly if that was done just because of this being a more fun celebration episode, or if it was done more to fit the kind of tone of the episode with the party atmosphere and whatnot. I'm unsure. I'm honestly unsure. But I will say that the close did get more serious. Like, while most of the episode is just the fun celebration stuff, Kesha being an awesome character with Queen Bee, great song, some fun moments, the ending gets a lot more serious once Loona brings Blitz back home, because he had gone to get her originally because she wanted to leave. Then she decided to stay. He stayed with her, and then he became a problem because Blitz. So when they leave and everything, and she brings him back home, we see him kind of breaking down again on the couch, and he's like, will anyone even be there for me? Will you be there for me? And she does reassure him, and it's again continuing off of the first episode, or the last episode, episode 7, and showcasing like that Blitz is just not in a good place at that point. And of course, we see he does end up moving on, but we also know he does not get better. He's holding it inside. And he hasn't really actually, healed from anything. He's just trying to push it away and ignore it. And that is definitely going to come to a boiling point at some time. It's going to it's going to explode, and it's not going to be super fun for him, I feel. But yeah, yeah. So it was a really good episode. The full circle stuff with Kesha was just great. And the funny thing is, going into this and not knowing, it's like the little fun fact for you all. I actually recognized Kesha's voice instantly. Like I didn't even have to wait to the credits to know it was her, because I've seen enough interviews and stuff because of all this controversy with Dr. Luke and all, that I've actually recognized her voice now. So it's like I heard her voice, plus seeing her character design also helped. Because let's be honest, Queen Bee's design is very obviously based off of the character from the Die Young video. I don't know if the character in that video has a name, but probably. But it's very clearly based off of that. There's even a point where the lighting makes her look blue like that character instead of her normal colors, just because of the lighting. And it's like, oh yeah, this, like, yeah. Plus, obviously, the fact that she's voiced by Kesha is proof enough that she's based off of the same character in from that music video. So, but yeah, it's like I recognized her voice instantly, and it's like, and again, mixed with her name or with her design, it's like, oh shit, they actually did that. Like that was my reaction. It's like it wasn't like super hype or anything. I mean, I like Kesha and I like her music, but it wasn't anything like that. I was just like really like shocked and amused, and it's like hell yeah, I'm in. Let's do this. I did think it was her singing at first because again, Rochelle Diamante actually does match her kind of her singing voice pretty well. It's very very close. Though knowing it's a different person now, it's a little easier to tell, but that's kind of how it goes a lot of times. um yeah, it was really fun to see this come full circle, to see all the like fun stuff in this episode. Tex was just as likable, just as awesome as before. We got to see a few other random characters there. No one we really knew. Really, the only characters we knew were Tex, Loona, and Blitz. Everyone else there was a new character, though there was at least a character who knew who Loona was, but it's not a character we've seen before, to my knowledge. And there was another character who knew who Blitz was. So that's pretty interesting in and of itself. Also, the one Hellhound lady who knew who Loona was. Oh my god, her voice was so fucking annoying. And it's like I know that was the point, but oh my god, it's like pretty much the instant she started speaking, it's like, oh, I hate you. And again, that's the intent. Her voice is supposed to be excessively ear-grindingly annoying. Like, it's very clearly the intention. So, plus the character also is just kind of a shitbag, so there's that. But yeah, it is the VA, whoever voiced her, I'm actually not sure, did a great job. I wonder if I can see real quick. We have to end these afterthoughts soon, though. Or not afterthought, just these this review. We've been going on way too long. Okay, I'm gonna mute this because I can't find the exact frame that it's at. Yeah, Brandon Rogers, Erica Lindbeck, James Horner Eichelhart, Kesha Saber. Okay, if the character's name is Vicky, which it probably is, because who else would be Vicky? We know who Dennis was. Then, if that's the case, then that was Jinx Monsoon. I saw Jinx Monsoon's name in the credits. She's done work on the show before. So, okay. That would be... I think Jinx Monsoon did a really annoying voice for the character in the Spring Breakers episode, too. I believe she was the one who said, oh my god, it's a fucking possum. But in that really annoying, nasally voice. Anyway. But yeah. really, and Dennis was such a minor character, honestly, was barely even there. But for some reason gets a voice credit, because Edward Bosco, I guess. Even though Edward Bosco is also listed under additional voices. I don't know. Either way, yeah, I love this episode. I love everything that it means, and I love that we just finally have it. Vivzy was very clearly excited to be sharing this. Like I'd seen like the tweets leading up to this weekend and everything. This is just a big milestone. The fact that they're able to get Kesha and everything, the fact that after so long of waiting, it was finally able to be released. Again, probably due to the legal stuff that was going on. A lot of people thought it was maybe because of a song that was used in here. I don't think it was actually because of that at all. I think it was because of the legal battle that Kesha was having with Dr. Luke. But yeah. The fact that this was finally released and it was so good and so worth the wait, and Vivzy was super excited for everyone to see this. It's like, this is just wholesome. This is awesome. I just love this show, you know? I love this show. I love the characters. I love all of this. This is great. But tell me in the comments below, what did you think of this episode of Helluva Boss? Thank you so much for tuning in. And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.